Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the support. So thank you to everyone to be here. So I hope you're not too tired for a very full conference, and you're not too tired to hear about green, climate, etc. So to stimulate your interest, we rebrand green in Just Transition for this talk. Look, so welcome to everyone. Today we're gonna speak about financing the Just Transition. I think it's an interesting topic, as many other topics you have been hearing in the conference. But finally, I will believe is an interesting opportunities to try to do something that rarely happen, I think, in the microfinance and the inclusive finance field, that is trying to connect with what is called the conventional finance, and vice versa, also try to tell to the conventional finance how to be inclusive. Yeah, because the Just Transition is, of course, a key topic toward our transition to low carbon emission, that the full financial sector and the commercial sector need to take, and because we are just basically as by construction into microfinance, so we should be, yeah, maybe we have something to say there, and maybe there is finally a possibility to build a bridge between the microfinance and the conventional finance world. With this intro, I have the tick, but the tick, oh, maybe it's off. Sorry. Okay. Super. So you're lucky that I'm not the only one speaking, but you have an amazing set of speakers with me. We try to pull together people that has been recently working on the topic from different background. So we will have Patricia from EILO, as well as Joanna from e-MFP on the international world. We will have Alain Levy from the commercial banking sector, so BNP Paribas, and we will have, unfortunately, only remotely, Banco da Famiglia with Isabel, that is a microfinance institution. She sent us a video because she's speaking in Portuguese and we don't have translation from Portuguese. So voila, you will get the video with subtitles that will tell us about the experience of a microfinance institution into this realm. So before going to that, let me give you a couple of words of introduction. Of course, climate change is there. I don't need to tell you too much, but let's try to repeat that something is there. For example, if you take agriculture, is impacting already like 1/5 of the production we could have achieved as of today due to climatic events. And if you don't do nothing, or we do just what we keep on doing, the impact on production will keep on being worse and worse. And of course, imagine who will be the one that will be the most affected one. Yeah. Maybe we do a quiz afterward, but that's an easy one. Yeah. It's not the only topic. Yeah. Biodiversity losses, I think, is important. And biodiversity losses and climate are not only the two. There are many of the environmental risks we are exposing today. Biodiversity loss is another example. So around 25 of our lands as of today is degraded. Quite something. If you don't do nothing, yeah, it's quite scaring. That is on the horizon, I think, 2050. And imagine who will be the most affected one. Yeah, the one that cannot cope with that. Yeah, okay, another easy question. Important is that there is a great climate injustice or environmental injustice. Climate is pretty easy to look into that. This is an interesting plot from the World Bank. You will see here the poverty rate, yeah, extreme poverty rate, organized by country. Here you have DRC, and here you have US. And the amount of greenhouse emission. You see clearly there is an issue, and this clear one. Yeah, so the most poor country are the one that emit in the least, the most rich are the one that emit in the most. That's probably we know. But on the other side, of course, you will see this point, these things. Do you see in red the one that emit the most? And in red here below, the one that will be affected the most by the climate change. That's a major problem. Yeah. So and the major problem that call for a transition that is moving our economy and our finance toward a more sustainable system climatically, biodiversity, and many other topics in a way in which we will not further exclude or affect the people already affected today, but rather maybe we try to bring them in the middle of the change for once, changing our model. So the number of people falling into poverty due to climate change that by 2030, tomorrow, is estimated between 30 and 130 million people. Yeah, that's something. If you add on top of that what is happening now with the various wars and food crisis, is is something. I will leave to Patrice and to tell us better what just transition is. Yeah, because it's their role, ILO, international agency. I just want to state a word. I'm from the Just Institute. Why I'm presenting this? Why is important for us? One, because it's part of our name, Just. So we say if we call Just, maybe we work on the Just transition. Second, because our mandate is a non-for-profit organization, is to try to move forward climate, biodiversity, and inclusion all together. So we do not consider any kind of activity that is called sustainable if it is only supporting biodiversity or only climate. Inclusion is a key. It's not something we are going to look for it. And for that, we put in place certain set of activities that try to support the just transition with the inclusive finance sector, but also with the conventional sector. What is very important is inclusion. I think we need to expand this notion, because here often we speak about inclusion as a subset or a sort of an expansion of microfinance, but inclusion is everywhere in the economic, society, in conventional finance. So what I showed before is like a call for action to make no more the distinction between there's a conventional finance and the inclusive finance, but all finance should be inclusive. Yeah, because if not, will not contribute to any means to our objectives. What I try to propose you here as an idea, why do we speak about just transition? First of all, we want to understand a bit what is the just transition. Then what international agencies like UNEP-FI and ELO are doing into this. Then what commercial banking has been doing, and how financial institution, in this case microfinance institution, is moving forward in this direction. But the ultimate goal, to try to take the just transition as a bridge between the conventional finance and inclusive finance to finally build a unique finance that could be inclusive and just for the population that are financed. The interesting thing is that in the inclusive finance realm, from the very beginning, we are double bottom line. Yeah, we need to do the financial, economic, but also the social part. Yeah? And recently we moved forward into green. So we call the green microfinance, the green inclusive finance. The conventional finance world is forced or push or have willingness, depending on who you speak, to transit. Yeah, to try to finance more and more green practices, technologies, going out from polluting activity, etc. But the question is, how do you do it? For whom you do? So there is the topic there is to do in an inclusive way. So there is the just transition that is part of the conventional finance world. So it's putting together green and social, and probably it very much speaks to you. The interesting in this picture is that it's not only for the first time focus only on our microfinance sector. As in the just instant, then I give the word to the first speaker. We intend a view of the just transition in the following way. Let's see how much is aligned and not to what is pushed forward in, let's say, in the classical definition, or how various stakeholders are working into that. Our action is focused into inclusion. Yeah, so no matter what we do, should be inclusive. By being inclusive and wanting to push a transition toward, a sustainable system, the only thing you want, or you should do, or you must do at the beginning is to build resiliencies. Because if you need to be inclusive, you're working with vulnerable population, vulnerable enterprises, etc. So if you want to do something sustainable, there is no reason you do something sustainable that then will be affected by climate change tomorrow and then be destroyed. So first thing is to build adaptation to climate change and to biodiversity erosion. We have to select a subset of the environmental crisis. And doing that as much as possible with nature. We heard in the talk before, financing forestry, etc., because the excluded population very much depends on ecosystem. And by doing that, you support climate change mitigation that is inclusive, because it's built within, around, and together with the excluded population in a way in which we generate resiliencies of present threats and forthcoming one. With this word, finally, let's see what the just transition is. I would like to call someone from the audience to tell us about it.
Thanks, Davide. You actually did a lot of my job already.
No, but I did it wrong. Now is the moment to correct it.
Let me see if I can, yeah, probably I changed the microphone here. So good afternoon, everyone. It's interesting how the room keeps on filling up. It's the last session now. It's the last session. Let's try to be on time. I do like this topic of a just transition. Why? Because it has so many underlines out there. I am surprised about this. When we typically go out to speak about just transition from an ILO perspective, we hear things like, oh, just transition, that is the transfers from the north to the south related to climate change. No, that's not what it is. The just transition, oh, I think I have the, now I have the peeps. Is it this one?
But this is nice.
The just transition, just that we really understand what it is. It's the just transition towards an environmentally sustainable society. I think this is what we really need to keep in our mind. We are transitioning to something, and we need to know what this something is. And this is a society that should be also environmentally sustainable. And I think then from that perspective, things slowly fall into place. It means we should not leave anybody behind in that transition towards that end goal. This is the second point for us to keep in mind. You would typically find in ILO presentations, I think, a slightly more technical wording, which is to a low carbon climate resilient society. But thanks to all the sessions that Davide organized during the last 2 days, you are very familiar with this vocabulary. So I'm very happy. ILO, as the International Labour Organization, is the one that tried to shape this term of a just transition, mainly for the focus that we do have, because we typically work with the social part in this world. We work on the world of work, and that's why with workers, with the employers, so quite a big social part of the economy. And we simply say that a just transition actually means that we are maximizing the opportunities that this transition towards an environmentally sustainable economy provides. These opportunities are there. These are opportunities that come out of the green economy itself. When I put on my ILO hat, this is all the job opportunities that we have in the green economy. Now, putting this onto the microfinance world, there are also green economy opportunities that can be financed by microfinance institutions. We should not think that this is only large-scale projects. It's there. We have this with the cook stoves. We have this with solar home systems. We have this with so many examples. So it's relevant for the microfinance industry as well. So while maximizing those opportunities, we should also put on the head of looking at the challenges related with it. And those challenges are there, and this is the part of leave no one behind. Because as part of this transition, of course, we have risks that people are exposed to because of climate change. And this is job losses. It's just outright there. It's loss of livelihoods. It is often a skill mismatch that we see out there, and we need to consider those challenges. There are also gender inequalities out there already in the labor market. Climate change can increase them. And we also have, and I want to add this, we also do have some labor issues in the green economy. We often don't want to look at them because we think when we are green, we are already good. But no, there are also labor issues in the green economy out there. And these are also challenges that we need to consider. So just transition basically simply means maximizing those opportunities, social and environmental, while we are also trying to minimize and carefully manage those challenges. All with a dialogue function This is my biggest ILO head. We stand for dialogue. You might have thought that, oh, when Davide said, oh, the ILO, yeah, it's the labor unions lady. Maybe, but actually what is behind there is dialogue, that we need to speak with the stakeholders that are involved and concerned. And without this dialogue, no matter if this is a labor union, if this is employers, if this is also producer associations, if this is associations of microfinance institutions, anybody, it's the regulators, it's the dialogue that counts. And if we do not have this dialogue properly installed in any just transition conversation, it will not work. So that is why you see this on the slide there. Interestingly, in the international space, in 2015, with the Paris Agreement, this was the first time when we saw in climate agreements the term of a just transition popping up. So that was the realization. We cannot only go for the environmental sustainability, we need to consider social elements. It's not by coincidence that in the same year, the ILO also published its just transition guidelines, mainly directed at governments, but there was some international dialogue happening, and that's why the international instruments are talking to one another. So in short, this is what we understand as this just transition. Perhaps it was a little bit too long. I am going to be much shorter now. Why is this important? It's funny when it's behind you. You're getting nervous what you see. So why is this important? Simply because this just transition is actually an enabler for any climate action. And here with climate action, I want to pull your attention to, we are always talking of mitigation and we are talking of adaptation. We cannot only talk of one, and both are relevant for the microfinance sector as well to finance. It's not only the adaptation, but also the mitigation. And the two examples that I mentioned before fit under there. So I am using words of the LSE now, Nick Robbins, but he put it in so nice words. He said, it is the right thing to do to finance a just transition, simply because this is fully consistent with long-standing commitments to human rights, labor rights, and so forth. So it is the right thing to do, also from a microfinance perspective. It is the necessary thing to do. I think I don't need to add anything here. And it is a smart thing to do because it provides business opportunities for real economy and also for the financial sector. I like this. It's the right thing to do. It's the necessary thing and the smart thing to do also for the financial sector to engage. And with this, I'm coming to the last slide. I hope I'm not beyond the 5 minutes that I had. So which levers does the financial sector, financial institutions actually have to engage in this just transition? Well, on the one hand, of course, yes, there's a need for capital, so financial institutions can supply that capital. But not just anywhere, purposefully for just transition aligned projects. What does this need? It actually needs that the financial service provider has some kind of strategy in mind. It can be a just transition policy. It can also be a climate strategy that includes social concerns. The name doesn't really matter, but that it is just transition aligned. Then financial service providers can also stimulate the demand for capital. And I think this is where there is a huge role for the stakeholder engagement and collaboration also with the public sector. And also the microfinance institutions can hop on that together with public stakeholders. This demand can be stimulated. If there are programs for solar installations that come with additional support from the public sector on skills, on training for maintenance workers of the solar systems. This is a perfect match to engage, to stimulate this supply and on the same hand then supply the capital. The third one, act on financial inclusion. Well, this is where you are the experts in. I think I don't need to say much more here. And the fourth one I do want to mention, the fourth lever is the risk transfer. And we have heard a little bit over the last 2 days already on the use of insurance, but I think there is a lot still to do out there, how microfinance institutions can facilitate more insurance solutions for the most vulnerable if affected by climate change. I think there is more that we can do. And perhaps I close here, perhaps just on the role of the international organizations, because this was the question you posed to me. And I'm also giving my hand to Joanna on the other side. I mean, what is the role of organizations like ILO, like UNEP-FI or UNEP as the host organization? On the one hand, we are standard setting organizations. So we can try to define a little bit better, what is this just transition? From our side, we come up with labor standards that are out there for everybody to use. If you have questions on interpret them also on country level, we can help you. So it's really the standard setting level. The second one is capacity building, because sometimes these international instruments are very technical and difficult to understand. So our role also is to help and build capacity on understanding them so that they are implementable. And then the third one is a stakeholder dialogue that international organizations like ours can facilitate at international level, at country level, at regional level. So reach out to us if there are any dialogues that you think you need to have. This is exactly where we can jump in.
Thanks a lot, Patricia. So I think for us, the just transition is important also as a control for the green inclusive finance, because of course we can tend to exclude, also the most vulnerable one, because they're not the easiest one to include with new products. So let's not try to identify just, the just transition. For us, it's just green inclusive finance. Very much, if you want to finance agroforestry, as we heard, you will probably not given to the poorest one, the capacity, etc. So we could tend to be excluded within the client of microfinance institution within the transition, just as a teaser for that. Before moving forward into that, so we heard that also banks has been thinking about the just transition. I think for as much as I know, from the commercial side of various banking is something pretty new, but still, that's what I heard. But still, I heard that BNP Paribas has been doing something. Can you please let us know what the bank is doing?
It's better to see. Yes, okay. Thank you. More comfortable like that. Okay. Hello, everybody. So I fully agree with all what you mentioned, Patricia. Can you hear me? Yes, sorry. So I fully agree with what you mentioned. So regarding, yes. So BNP Paribas, as you know, is a large bank present in 65 countries, and it's most of all a committed bank. And we have to display every year in our yearly report some indicators regarding these different dimensions: responsibility, economic, social, civic, and environmental responsibility. And here you can notice regarding the environmental responsibilities that we have to display, we have fixed some target in terms of support, amount of support enabling our client to transition to a low carbon economy. We have to reach by 2025, 200 billion euro. And for instance, also we are committed to the amount of financing of companies contributing to protect terrestrial and marine biodiversity. And here we have committed to reach 4 billion by 2025. So this is some example of the concern, the interest of BNP Paribas regarding the environmental responsibility, and also its link with the subject of the just transition. Regarding the just transition for BNP Paribas, this is, like you mentioned, putting people at the heart of the climate action to ensure that no one is left behind in the process of energy transition. And here we target not only individual and families, but also public authorities, companies, and the scope is international, not only our domestic market, for instance. And we made some polls, and we have seen that the purchase power and the climate change are the main concern for most of the people regarding these. And what is interesting, I'm not going to go into detail of all the poll, but here you see if people have to choose what is the priority between the global warming versus purchasing power, 46% are mentioning that fighting global warming, even if it may impact their quality of life and comfort, can be chosen. So well, this is half of the people. And what we are trying and what we will see later in the heart of the just transition is people do not have to choose. We have to protect also their purchase power. Regarding also the initiative that BNP Paribas is performing in the just transition. So after later I will speak about what we do in the microfinance world, but here it's more in the corporate world of BNP Paribas. I can mention, for instance, two initiatives. The first one is an initiative which has been led in Brussels with BNP Paribas Fortis and Natixis. It's called Happiness. Happiness is the possibility to give to young professional people efficiency, to give access to apartments which are efficiency in terms of energy. The young professional can have access to the flat for 5 years, and after 5 years, they have the possibility to buy this apartment. What is interesting is half of the rent that they pay during 5 years are get back as part of their capital to buy the apartment. So here we can see that we are in the just transition. We are promoting at the same time efficiency in terms of energy and also inclusion for these young professional people. This is a pilot. So far, we have proposed 34 flat, and next year there will be 100 flat for that. Another offer in another topic, it's about the mobility. It has been given by BNP Paribas Personal Finance, and this is the possibility to offer car, so less polluting car to young people. And at affordable prices. So it means they get long-term leases of up to 100 months. And also they get a commitment to share their car, to get access to this offer. So this is, for instance, two examples of what we do.
So thanks a lot, Alain. You will see that we try to take it quite open from the just transition to show that it's also in commercial banking and in international labor, etc., as a key relevant topic. Before going to the microfinance, as let's say, as a wrap up of what we are discussing, maybe I would like to give the word to Joanna. We heard about UNEP-FI and the ILO has been working on a manual for insurance banking sector to support their transition. What do you learn? What did you do? Why did you do it?
Hi. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here. I'm actually home, so if you want any tips from Luxembourg, you can come at the end. And it's also very nice to be here in this specific panel because the report that Davide just mentioned is a report that is being written at 4 hands. So it's UNEP-FI together with ILO that are writing the report. And the report is, so it's a just transition guidance for banks and insurance, as it was just said. And the report is being done with a lot of consultation with a group of close to 30 banks and insurance, from which BNP makes also part of. And also with inputs from an external advisory group, which includes universities, IFIs, CSOs, and from which the Just Institute is also part. So it was a bit of a coincidence, but I think also we did try to find most of the people working on Just Transition. So at the same time is not, but it's great to be sharing the table. So I don't know if you know about UNEP-FI, so maybe just starting there. UNEP-FI is kind of a partnership between UN and financial institutions, mostly banks and insurance. It works through frameworks. The biggest ones are Principles for Responsible Banking and Principles for Sustainable Insurance, who try to push for both the achievement of the SDGs and the Paris Agreement through their banks and insurance. It also does the secretariat for the alliances, Net Zero Banking Alliance, Net Zero Insurance Alliance, asset owners. So Just Transition kind of fits very well in this. So what we try to do, and this report is going to be launched at COP on the 3rd of December. It will be available online. It's unfortunately not available yet. And what we try to do is really to frame what is a just transition for banks and insurance. For insurance, we're looking at the underwriting part. Why should just transition be part of what they're doing? What are practical steps that can be put in place? And we really try to bring a lot of practical ideas. So, because what we often hear when working with the industry is we would want to do, but this is very complex. This is very difficult. Let's focus on climate, or let's separate the topics. And what we try is to bring actually examples on sometimes institutions are even doing without knowing that they're doing something on just transition. Sometimes they're already actually doing it. And we try to bring this up to try to show, yes, it is possible, it can be viable economy, and it's actually already some parts of it, it's already being done. Not all of it, but there is already steps on that direction. So we look, just transition can be, we already spoke about many transitions, and there's a lot of dynamics. So conceptually in the report, we look at mitigation and adaptation. So climate mitigation and climate adaptation, and how to do this transition, how banks can support. Of course, this is a work for everyone, and this is a work for governments, and it's a work for businesses. So how banks and insurance can contribute for this transition that will not leave people behind, that will ensure that everyone is empowered to be part of, but also that actually will be happening in the terms of climate. Because if people are not believing that we need this transition, if people are not part of the transition, it will be very difficult to actually do the climate transition that is needed and to actually achieve the Paris Agreement. So, so this was also the premise that we had in the report. And we look at, one of the things, and I think it was already a bit mentioned in the different presentations, is that just transition can also not be the same anywhere. So there is sector specificities. We have in one hand the sectors that need to decarbonize, and with that comes issues in terms of labor and issues of communities that live around facilities that will have to, with time, be dephasing. We also have issues with critical minerals that are needed for the energy transition, and all the labor issues that happen in the supply chain of such minerals. So there is different dynamics depending on the sectors that we are looking at. There is also depending on the places we are. David, you showed the very nice maps on who is being more affected by climate, which also then who is being more affected by the transition. So of course, areas that are very dependent on carbon intensive industries will be more affected than an area that is not. So these dynamics are at play as well. And then it depends on who is being affected. And here we have businesses, we have communities, we have workers, and within all of this, we have the most vulnerable within. And this is where it's very, very important to put the emphasis on. So those that will not have the capacity to actually accompany the transition and will be even more left behind, which again in the maps that were shown in the beginning was quite clear. So the way the report is divided, and just also to say, we are not, the report is not, there is a lot of work already being done. So the reason why we had an advisory group, these banks that are already working, we're not trying to create a new definition of what is just transition. We're not trying to create a new way of doing the work, but we are really trying to bring people together that are working and put it in a practical way for banks and insurance to be able to follow and to then continue working from there. And so the way that we kind of divided the strategy, the work that needs to be done. So there is one pillar, which is the pillar that is probably a bit more done, which is the one on compliance with international standards, with safeguards, our compliance with labor and human rights, which should be straightforward, but we do see that in the industry, although in the environment one is more and more straightforward, the social parts, the human rights, the labor rights are still often not included in due diligence in the decision-making of the industry. So one of the things that we put as a baseline of needed is to have a human rights-based approach and to have actually defined the protection of people, of workers, in order to achieve a just transition. So whenever there is a project that is financing the transition, it needs to have this in consideration, and in general, the organizations. But then on the other hand, this is not enough. Just doing this will not ensure that we get a just transition. So there is a need to have intentionally social positive, enhanced social positive. And Patricia already put in a slide some of the things that that pillar works more. So it's good that we are clearly working at four hands. So there is a need to develop products to see where are the financial needs and to develop products that and finance and drive finance to the places where are needed for the just transition. So if we speak about retrofitting homes, when we speak about individuals, if we speak about retrofitting, we need to speak so that they can cope better with and be more efficient energetically. We need to then also think about those to whom it's difficult to actually do these payments. And in the question, I think it wasn't asked now, but it was asked before to also connect with microfinance. So the reports that we did is not from microfinance, but it appears microfinance very clearly. It appears from both the banking side and a lot from the insurance side, because leaving no one behind and working with those who have more difficulties to be resilient to both climate change and to the transition, to actually be able to adapt and to actually be able to transition with, microfinance has already the part of working. It's already intentional, so it's already in the intentionality of the type of finance. So we give examples actually in the report of microfinance that is being used in terms of insurance for agriculture, for instance, for diseases that are starting to come more often and more prevalent due to climate change. So we do put quite a few examples on the need for the financial inclusion and for the close of the protection gap, where we find that microfinance is actually quite relevant and important. And then just to say that I think there's a lot of work still to be done and a lot of discussions that needs to happen. And we believe that this report is important for the industry at the moment, but we think that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. One of the parts of the report speaks about is also partnerships. And there, if we speak about bigger institutions that can work with microfinance institutions as well, of course, also with governments, also with multilateral, but just at this level, I think it's very important to discuss what can be the partnerships and the right alignments that can be done in order to work towards a just transition.
Thanks a lot, Joanna. I think it is pretty clear that this just transition could build bridges. So, we're speaking of big insurance, big banking sector, and microfinance, and try to reinforce each other. We, within the Just Institute, we have one of our mandate is to support the development of products to achieve the goal of the Institute. So like inclusion, biodiversity, and climate. And of course, we're being realized, I heard from Joanna, that is needed to develop products specific for that. So this is one of the things we do. So we have been working together with BNP Paribas to pilot a new product. It's called ISLF that we will hear from Alain, that is called Inclusive Sustainability Linked Financing. And you will, the idea is to have a product that could cover the full financing chain, from the corporate till the microfinance. And then we are trying to experiment block by block. The first experimentation we did in microfinance. The next challenge is to mainstreaming into the inclusive finance industry, and then to start piloting in upper hill, so SME, corporate, etc. You will hear that from Alain that I think one of the originality of the product is the transformative capacity. We want to be inclusive also in terms of to whom is provided. We don't want just to support just transition for institutions that are already doing the just transition. Okay, thank you. Yeah, because we need much more just transition. So you see, it's done on a step way. So we, from our, as you see, our DNA, we want to bring everyone in inclusive climate and biodiversity. But if you look, this spectrum is very small. So the product is done in such a way to develop incentive, financial and non-financial, to bring institutions from outside this row to environmental and social, to green solution, to climate and biodiversity and inclusive step by step into a transition. So without further speaking, I will give the floor to Alain that finally will tell us that BNP Paribas is not only a commercial bank, that's some microfinance probably, and how it experiment this product. Thank you.
Yes, as you mentioned, BNP Paribas is present in microfinance for more than 30 years. So we had since 1989, we we supported indirectly 3 million of beneficiaries, and we were named World Best Bank for Financial Inclusion in 2023. But let's move to inclusive and sustainability link funding. So yes, we are very proud of this product because we think that this product has been designed with the help of a Just Institute for the just transition. So because the inspiration was the SLL. Imagine that you know all the SLL model, which is done for the corporate market mainly. Here's the difference with the ISLF. It's for any type of institution which target social inclusion. That is to say, microfinance market. SLL, generally, their target are mainly for environmental. Here, in the ISLF, we are making a combination of social and environmental target because we want to support the end consumer to the just transition. So as it was mentioned by Davide, what is very important with his ISLF is a transformative impact effect of the institution. After, in the SLL, the incentive given to the corporate is a decrease in terms of interest rate. Here for the ISLF, it's the same, but also we can give non-financial incentive, like, for instance, technical assistance. And for the last main difference, for SLL is supporting the market development of sustainable solution, improvement of ESG practices. Here, as I was mentioning, we have a transformative effect on the client. So this is the main target. BNP Paribas has just closed this year. Today we were announcing this in a communication, in a press release, 3 ISLF, one in France with ADI, a second one in Italy with Permicro, and the third one in Brazil with Banco da Família. And that is why also we're going to have a video with Isabel Baggio.
So thanks a lot. We're a bit short in time. We will launch a video to see a bit Banco da Família. Maybe 2 words on this ISLF. You will see if I just go back, just to give the background, if I just go back on this transformative part, Banco da Família is an institution that already has green loans from the energy and water and sanitation. So the scope of this product is, of course, to finance this part of the portfolio and make it growing. And if it grows, give a reduction in interest rate, in that case, in terms of additional technical assistance. So you repay in technical assistance to do better. And on top of that, he didn't have anything in terms of sustainable agriculture, just financing farming. So what we say, okay, good, we would like to move forward into your capacity to do adaptation to climate change. We will work with you to disclose which one of the activity you do in your client do in farming that can be classified as sustainable from climate and biodiversity point of view. And if you're able to disclose it within 3 years, yeah, you will have further premium in terms of better condition. Voila, so I think we can go, and maybe last thing I want to add, in terms of transformative capacity, I don't know if that was clear because there's a lot of material we're trying to share. What is key is that this product SLF is a composition between access to finance and access to TA upfront to generate the capacity the institution don't have, plus the finance to do it, and then linked interest rate decrease and or additional technical assistance according if the institution achieve the objective. Yeah, we give stuff upfront, and then we give more to generate capacity if this achieved. Yeah. Let's launch the video that is a broader presentation of Banco da Famiglia plus what we do, please.
Olá a todos. Meu nome é Isabel Pajo, sou fundadora e presidente do Conselho de Administração do Banco da Família. Estamos localizadas no sul do Brasil, uma entidade de microfinanças que opera há 25 anos, atendendo as pessoas que não têm acesso a crédito dentro do sistema financeiro tradicional. A nossa preocupação sempre é levar a qualidade de vida das pessoas, melhorar o entendimento do ecossistema onde as pessoas vivem e melhorar todos os aspectos de vida onde os nossos clientes permanecem, vivem e trabalham. Há muitos anos, a nossa preocupação sempre tem sido com a inclusão financeira, com a economia de impacto. Sabemos que as pessoas têm muitas dificuldades, mas nós estamos aqui para ajudá-las a melhorar a sua qualidade de vida e a trabalhar adequadamente com seus recursos. Desde outros anos, nós temos essa preocupação. Até hoje, aplicamos em torno de 400 milhões de dólares, atendendo ao redor de 1.800.000 pessoas. A equipe do Banco da Família é formada de 85% de mulheres e as nossas clientes fazem parte também de um número bastante importante, que é 54% de mulheres na nossa clientela. Outro produto, outro serviço e outro olhar que nós temos é com a sustentabilidade. Oferecemos atualmente mais de 15 soluções microfinanceiras para atendimento das necessidades dos nossos clientes. À medida que o tempo foi passando, nós fomos percebendo que as pessoas precisavam de outras soluções e rapidamente nós desenvolvemos essas soluções para atender as famílias dos nossos clientes no seu aspecto mais amplo. Atualmente, nós temos concentrado nossos esforços em olhar muito especificamente os produtos ligados à sustentabilidade. E aí eu posso falar de saneamento, habitação, energia solar e tantos outros. Também temos um produto bastante importante utilizado na área rural, nas pequenas propriedades, que é serviços de saneamento. Então, cisternas, captação de água e tantos outros serviços que as pessoas precisam nessas pequenas propriedades de melhorar o seu ecossistema. Uma preocupação também é com a sustentabilidade e com a educação financeira para essas famílias. São pessoas que não têm muito acesso, então o nosso negócio também é levar a educação financeira para essas famílias. Estamos preocupados também com práticas saudáveis e economicamente sustentáveis com placas de energia solar. Tanto na área urbana quanto na área rural, nós temos procurado educar as pessoas para fazer uso desse tipo de energia, que sabemos que são renováveis e que causam muito menos impacto ao meio ambiente. As pessoas ainda têm a necessidade de conhecer isso, então o nosso papel também é levar a informação onde as pessoas se sintam seguras de fazer um investimento, que às vezes é de longo prazo, mas que economicamente é viável e sustentavelmente também é importante. Nossa parceria estratégica com o PNP e com o Instituto Just é muito importante. Comungamos dos mesmos conceitos e dos mesmos valores. E queremos, de todas as maneiras, transferir isso para os nossos clientes. Na busca de expandir o nosso portfólio em saneamento, energias renováveis e empréstimos agrícolas sustentáveis para populações excluídas, trabalhamos em conjunto com o BNP Paribas e o Instituto Just para desenvolver um financiamento inovador ligado à sustentabilidade inclusiva. O ISLF fornece refinanciamento da carteira do Banco da Família, bem como assistência técnica para melhorar os impactos ambientais dos nossos empréstimos. Além disso, fornece assistência técnica incremental ligada ao cumprimento de metas socioambientais. Este financiamento único não só nos apoiará na expansão do nosso portfólio verde, mas também nos apoiará ativamente na geração de capacidade para avaliar as práticas agrícolas dos pequenos agricultores que financiamos e também identificar quais práticas são sustentáveis e, portanto, ser capaz de apoiar os nossos clientes de pequenos negócios a transitar para práticas agrícolas sustentáveis. É assim que pretendemos contribuir para a transição justa, fornecendo serviços financeiros e não financeiros aos nossos clientes vulneráveis, para aumentar a sua resiliência climática e capacitá-los para implementar práticas sustentáveis.
Any questions? Comment, critics, experiences? Don't be shy. No one. So everything is clear, apparently. So maybe I ask you a question instead before leaving you go. How would you suggest to support the sector to build these bridges? I think it's key that we conjugate this just transition within the conventional and the inclusive finance sector. I think many of you have been having experience in one of the two fields, in the inclusive finance. And if anyone has any suggestion or thing to be taken into account, is one of our opportunity as inclusive finance sector for once to say something to the conventional finance. Say, hey, we've already been doing it. Yeah? But to be able to say, I think we have not been stressing enough in this conference, neither as of today, that just doing green inclusive will not just tick the just transition, as said. So you have very high risk of exclusion within the green inclusive finance, as well as if you have in conventional finance. There's also an opportunity for us to be critical on what we do. Some time ago, we were thinking just providing small loans was good for social inclusion, and then we see what happened. Any comment on that?
Giving you 10 seconds that you can think. I have a meeting.
So she's leaving, the speaker are leaving, so probably everyone can leave. It's like perfect. So we are in the situation like when you are in a party, you know, the first one leaving, then bring everyone out. That's and on top of that, you're the owner of the house is telling us it's better I close because I need to go to sleep. So voila, thanks a lot for your attention. And don't forget to join at the EAB